Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Whispering Gentleman. So flick off the lights, sit down in your comfortable chair, and grab a glass of your favorite drink as we dive on in. I work at a hospital. Workers must follow strange rules to survive, by Archieves-H. Hi. I'm not sure what the purpose of this journal or whatever really is, but my team leader said something about writing my experiences online as some sort of journal. My name's Madison Soul, and I work at a hospital that has some strange rules, whether it be a room, a patient, anything. It's all quite odd, but I'm used to it. Plus, I get paid a decent amount of money. Our job at the Page Medical Center is to quietly deal with bizarre injuries, afflictions, and other unknown diseases beyond the grasp of the human mind. I'm sure you've heard countless statements of people being attacked by strange things. And you know who helps them when they get hurt? Us, the Page Medical Center. Your place for injuries, incidents, and afflictions. Anyway, today's been a really odd day. Today, I was assigned to the more spooky part of the medical center, the abandoned West Wing. According to rumors I've heard ever since joining the hospital, I've been told that the West Wing was technically the first part of the building to be built by the founders of the hospital, but merely a day after the entire building was completed, a strange fire broke out after this. This woman was brought in and treated. The legends claim she was found with every bone in her body broken, and that she was practically drowning when she got there. The next part makes even less sense. The doctors weren't able to help her at all, but out of nowhere the surgical table caught on fire and they saw the woman burn up and vanish. An hour later, a strange, seemingly unpromoted fire broke out in the same area, and soon the entire West Wing was reduced to nothing but ash and ruins. Ever since then, rumors of seeing a burned woman roam the halls at night have peppered the medical center. Most people I know have never seen the woman, but there are those who I've talked to who were able to describe the whole encounter in vivid detail. First, you'd be alone. Next, you'd smell something cooking in the distance, something fresh. Something you'd smell at a barbecue. Then, you'd see the burned woman, just out of the corner of your eye, once, twice, and then you'd hear a scream right behind you, and you'd turn and see the charred, rotten woman behind you scream, and then simply burn up in a flash of fiery light. But that's enough of that story. Here's your instructions. My boss, Quint Magnus, said, tiredly handing me a slip of paper. You need to track down some escaped patient we suspect is currently in the abandoned West Wing. Dr. Caleri and a soldier, Arthur Reed, will accompany you. Before I could ask any questions, Magnus left my station, wandering off to terrorize some other low-level employee. I met with Dr. Caleri, who was in charge of the patient, who was a man named Samuel Carter. He had reported seeing visions for the past day, and one of our searcher agents who locate injured people found him off the side of the road, complaining of being followed. So, the rules. Our soldier, Arthur Reed, asked me as he met us at the doorway, separating the West Wing from the central junction. I produced the rules. Have a read. Rule 1. Welcome to the abandoned West Wing of the Page Medical Center. Before you enter, we've got some basic guidelines and protocols on the location. Please follow them all to the letter, as failure to do so may endanger you, your partners, and anyone related to you at risk. Rule 2. Once you enter, you may hear birdsong. Do not acknowledge this noise at all. Pretend it doesn't exist. You may not wear headphones, as the birdsong may slowly distort and change into odd, garbled speaking, as if someone is speaking through a radio. If this happens, close your eyes for exactly 7 seconds. The problem will stop. Rule 3. you may encounter the so-called burned woman who is rumored to majorly haunt the West Wing. We are glad to inform you that this burned woman, if she even exists, is of no problem to you and your team. If encountered, you may ignore her. She is of no value or danger to you and your team. Rule 4. You may see a strange coin on the floor, inscribed with a text reading something along the lines of, "Take the coin, make the deal." Do not take the coin. Additionally, you may hallucinate a fountain with more of these coins within. If seen, close your eyes for 10 seconds, then reopen them. If the problem persists, please exit the wing. Rule 5. Occasionally, you may hear odd noises in rooms with closed doors. Do not enter these rooms if you hear noises. Only enter rooms with little to no noise. You may enter the room once the noises have stopped. Rule 6. You may see a man in a trench coat wandering around. If seen, hide. Do not let this man see you. We have no idea who this man is or his purpose. Attempts to capture this man have proved useless, and it is best to ignore and avoid him altogether. Rule 7. Enjoy your mission, and follow the rules stated above. With love, the company. Who even makes these rules? Kaleri complained. Seems awfully bizarre. Some high-tech artificial intelligence, I explained. You must be new here. Odd rules are the norm. AI, Kaleri asked. That's really cool, actually. I guess so, I replied, opening the door, entering the West Wing. The place was a complete turnaround from the main section of the building, where the central junction had been bright, full of life, and clean. This section was grim and dark, dead, even, you could say. Mold and debris splattered across the walls, floors, everywhere. Once all of us had entered, I heard Reed, the soldier, close the door behind us, creating a bang. It was quiet for the first few moments. I heard Kaleri jot down some notes, murmuring to herself while we walked. Reed, for his part, whistled a vaguely familiar tune I'd probably heard in a movie. Soon, we began to hear it. At first, a single noise, a chirp, birds. Very soon, a single chirp evolved into something of a melody, and suddenly, before we knew it, we were surrounded by the noise, as if we were in a living, breathing jungle full of life. And then it started to distort, the noise becoming deeper, like static, until words began to speak to us, just as the rules had warned. Help, it began, rough, like sandpaper. Me. Then the birds resumed, and then the children, and lastly, their eyes. As much as I was curious and wanted to listen, I closed my eyes for 7 seconds, just as the rules had told me, and very soon the birds and the voice were gone. Creepy, huh? I joked. Unsettling, yes, Kaleri replied, but fascinating. That's when we heard something. No, someone run just out of the corner of our eyes. Hey, Reed yelled, shining his light. He was too late. The person had ran too far, turning a corner. After them, I yelled, breaking into a run, my flashlight illuminating the dark, shadowy corner. And so the three of us ran, searching for the person who had turned a corner. Unfortunately, I tripped just as my flashlight was about to reveal who they were, and I fell to the floor. My 2 teammates went after him, splitting up to cut them off. Hey, I spoke through the radio as I got myself up. Did you get the guy? No, Reed replied. But his clothes caught on something. I think there's bits and pieces of it all over the floor. Kaleri? I asked. No luck. I stood myself up, propping my body up against a wall, and then I noticed the plaque on it was, which read, dedicated to Amanda Walker, 1928 to 1953. That was odd. I had never heard that name before, but it wasn't too important at the time, so I largely ignored it.
Hey,
Reed yelled through the radio.
I think I have him. He's near room 8811.
Get him! I yelled.
I see him. He's moving.
Reed continued.
Wait. Reed?
Killer asked.
Reed?
Private Reed? Do you copy? I asked. Another pause, one that seemed far too long.
Got him.
Reed cheered. Distantly I heard rustling clothes writhing against a hand.
Wait.
He continued, pausing.
You're not.
And then a scream. And then silence. Reed, I shouted. What happened?
I'm at his location.
Killer informed.
There's
What?
his radio. It's been crushed. Reed, he's been injured.
They pause, and then
Oh, wait. There's something in his hand. A piece of cloth lock from a coat.
I suddenly realized what, no, who had attacked him. The man in the trench coat the rules had warned about. But before I could even process my realization, I heard a voice right behind me. Oh, thank God. A man's voice sighed, relieved. She's here waiting for you. It was the man we was looking for, Samuel Carter. He was in a hospital gown, slightly ripped, but the man looked relatively okay. He seemed to be relieved to see me, and soon he was at my side. Okay, you're coming back with me, I said. No, you don't understand, he rebutted. She led me here, to this place, to you. Who? And then that's when I smelled it. A soft smell at first, but it was there. It smelled like something was cooking, off in the distance, a putrid, strange smell like rotten meat being overcooked. The stench was so overwhelming my throat began to close up, and I saw that it was having a worse effect on the patient. He was coughing up some sort of sticky black liquid like tar. Then I saw it, just like the rumors. Out of the corner of my vision from around the corner, I saw this woman, except her skin seemed to have been peeled off and she was rotting. Something seemed to have been slashed into her. Words, maybe. But before I could properly look, she was gone again. And then, just as the rumors promised, I heard this terrifying, dissonant scream behind me, and I looked to see the burned woman behind me, flies in her wounds, and a message carved into her body, flay to reveal flesh and bone. And before I knew it, it was over. The woman yelled out a final scream of pain, and fire overtook her, and soon there was nothing but ash. But I saw the words that were carved all over her, and those words will haunt me forever, because they said something I'd never expected. Because of all things, they read my name. Killer? I communicated, moments after finally regaining my senses.
Yeah.
I have the target.
I'll meet you back at the doorway.
Agreed. And so, minutes later, we met at the doorway, me and the patient, and Dr. Killer carrying the unconscious Reed on her back. And that's it. It was over. Or so I thought. Because later that day, as I was heading towards my room to get a night's rest, I suddenly found myself back at the West Wing. Just for a moment, I saw the halls burned, ash black, and devoid of life. And then I saw the burned woman pointing at me, and suddenly, I was back where I was supposed to be. And now, as I write this message, I'm beginning to smell this awful cooking smell like someone's overcooking rotten meat. If you like this story, and you want to check out more stories by a brilliant author, then make sure to check out Archieves-H on Reddit in the link below. As always, sleep tight and stay terrified.